Hey there, GCSE Religious Studies pupils, and welcome to The Explainer. Look, think of this explainer as your ultimate high-yield study guide for Component 3. Today, we're zeroing in on the Jewish relationship with God. Specifically, we're talking about Mitzvot and God as the lawgiver. If you want to maximize your revision time, lock in those absolutely crucial key terms, and walk into your exam feeling totally prepared, well, you are in exactly the right place.
Let's get straight to work.
Here's our Mitzvah revision blueprint for today. First, God as the lawgiver. 2, mitzvah, or the relationship rules. 3, monotheism and rejecting idolatry. 4, the temple destruction pivot. And finally, number 5, keeping mitzvah today. I promise you're going to get clear analogies and the exact terminology you need to ace your exam answers. So let's dive right in. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, God as the lawgiver. To truly grasp Judaism and, to score those top marks on your paper, you've got to start at the absolute foundation. Make sure you get this exact definition down in your notes right now. Monotheism. It's the belief that there is only one God. Now, what's really fascinating about this is how completely fundamental this single word is to literally everything else we're going to discuss today. Judaism centers entirely around this single divine authority figure. There's no competing gods, no massive pantheon of deities, just one God who sets the ultimate standard for humanity. Quick examiner tip for you. When you see topics pop up like God is one, God is lawgiver, or the 10 Commandments in your Component 3 studies, just remember they are all firmly anchored to this exact concept of monotheism. Because think about it, if there is only one God, he is naturally the sole provider of the law, right? You simply cannot separate his oneness from his role as the ultimate lawmaker. They go hand in hand. Moving on to Section 2, Mitzvot, the relationship rules. So if God is the sole lawgiver, how exactly does he communicate what he expects from humanity? Well, he does it through a very specific set of relationship rules. And that brings us to another massive key term for your exam, mitzvot. Essentially, mitzvot is keeping the duties given by God. But here's the thing. They aren't just random strict rules for the sake of being strict. The Torah explicitly tells us that the entire purpose of human life is to build a relationship with God, and you attain that relationship by keeping these mitzvot. Plus, they guide how you build healthy relationships with other people, too. In short, they're the practical, everyday steps you take to fulfill your life's deepest purpose. Okay, to make this really stick in your head for revision, let's use a super simple relationship analogy. Just think of your absolute best friendship. To keep that friendship strong, there are positive actions you take, right? Like checking in on them, helping them out, maybe celebrating their wins. In Judaism, these are known as positive mitzvot, doing good deeds. For example, being given the incredible honor of reading from the Torah. But on the flip side, a good friendship also totally relies on negative boundaries. Things like, don't betray my trust, or, don't eat the last slice of my pizza. Judaism has these too. They're called negative mitzvot, and these are the specific actions and behaviors you must actively avoid. So together, the positive do's and the negative don'ts form the complete big-picture framework of a healthy relationship with the lawgiver. Right? Let's jump into Section 3, monotheism and rejecting idolatry. So now that we kind of understand the framework of these relationship rules, we really need to look at the ultimate deal breaker in the relationship between Jews and God. Take a close look at this absolutely crucial passage from Exodus 20. It says, "Do not represent such gods by any carved statue." And it goes on to say, "I am God your Lord, a God who demands exclusive worship." And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where God draws the line. Remember that friendship analogy we just talked about? Well, this is the ultimate big-time do not betray my trust clause. God is establishing a super strict, totally non-negotiable boundary when it comes to exclusivity. And that brings us perfectly to the official exam term for breaking that specific boundary, idolatry. Make sure you know this one. Idolatry is the sin of representing, bowing down to, or worshiping false gods, statues, or pictures. It's a direct, literal violation of the negative mitzvot established right there in the 10 Commandments. Basically, it goes completely against that core concept of monotheism that we defined earlier. Now, if you get a describe question on your paper asking about the sources of authority regarding God as a lawgiver, you're going to want to visualize these 4 core pillars from Exodus 20. First up, Judaism is strictly monotheistic. Second, worshiping false idols is definitively wrong. Third, idolatry is a sin. And fourth, God punishes those who go against his laws. Honestly, just lock these 4 bullet points into your memory and you'll be golden for those describe questions. Which leads us to section 4, the temple destruction pivot. Okay, so to recap real quick, we've got the lawgiver, we have the relationship rules, and we know the ultimate deal breaker. But history, well, it threw a massive curveball. You see, originally, a huge chunk of the mitzvah were directly linked to a physical place, the magnificent temple in Jerusalem. But tragically, the temple was destroyed. Step back and imagine having your relationship rules completely tied to a house that suddenly no longer exists. The reality on the ground had permanently shifted. Because that physical location was just gone, keeping all the rules became utterly impossible. It forced Jewish practice to adapt out of sheer necessity just to survive. And that brings us to our final section, section 5, keeping mitzvot today. So how do different Jewish groups navigate the terms of this ancient relationship now, without the temple and living in a completely different modern world? So the crucial point here is understanding the clear contrast between different Jewish traditions today. On one side, we have Orthodox Jews. They view keeping the mitzvot as an incredibly important absolute core principle of Judaism, and they adhere very closely to those traditional rules in their everyday modern living. But then on the other hand, you have Reform Jews. They also try to keep the mitzvot, but they approach them pretty differently. Many Reform Jews consider that some of those ancient rules are simply no longer compatible with 21st century living. I want to really emphasize this concept for your revision notes. For Reform Judaism, it often comes down to personal choice and interpretation. Basically, the realities of modern life limit which traditional mitzvot are still followed. For a Reform Jew, that relationship with God remains incredibly important, but it's highly personal. It's up to the individual to interpret how best to maintain that connection and relationship in today's fast-paced society, rather than just strictly following every single historical law to the letter. Wow, okay, we have covered a fantastic amount of ground today, and now it's time to put your learning to the test. Here are 2 actual style exam questions for your Component 3 prep. Number 1, describe the Jewish belief about idolatry, and number 2, describe how the commandments link to God as a lawgiver. Seriously, I challenge you to pause this explainer right now, grab a pen, and physically write out your answers using that blueprint we just walked through. How well do you know the rules of the relationship? Think back to our friendship analogies, the exact definitions of monotheism and mitzvot, and the key differences between Orthodox and Reform views today. Before you head into that exam hall, leave yourself with this one thought. If your entire life's purpose was defined by a single set of ancient relationship rules, how would you adapt them to survive in the modern world? Good luck with your revision, and you've totally got this.